Great. So welcome everyone. Ooh. So as people are coming in, shall we test the Q&A box? Would you like to let us know where you're calling from, where you're joining us from? So we know that you're hearing us. Hello from Dubai. Lithuania, nice.
Ah.
Ute, Dubai, hi Ute. So if you can hear us, just type in the Q&A box where you're joining from today.
If someone from Oslo.
From Oslo.
Cyprus.
Cool.
And Muscat.
Wow. We're global.
Muscat.
Toronto.
Oh, way.
Ukraine, Lithuania, lots of us from the UAE, India,
Serbia.
Oman.
Welcome to the UAE ICF chapter.
Yes.
Another person from Norway.
Such a diverse audience today.
Yes, it is. And just to, as we begin to get started, just to let those of you that are raising your hand right now, you will need to, whatever message it is that you would like to send us, please go ahead and do that in that Q&A section as we have the chat turned off right now. Thank you so much for understanding.
As people are coming in, why don't we introduce ourselves as the board? And Alina, you can introduce Marshall, and we can do it briefly again as we start. So I'm Rania Lang, I'm the president of the UAE ICF chapter. Go ahead, over to you, Lina. Go around the board.
Hi, I am Lina El-Assaad, and I am the Vice President and Membership Director of the ICF UAE. We'll go around with introducing the rest of the board, and our speaker will leave Dr. Marshall till the end with a full introduction. So,
Go ahead, Brenda. Barbara.
Hi, it's Barbara. I'm the Finance and Administration Director for ICF Board.
Anita.
Hi, I am Anita O'Connor. I am the Director of Marketing for the board for the UAE.
And
Hello.
Franda.
And I am, last but not least, I am Franda, and I am Board Director for Community for ICF UAE. Now over to you, Lina.
all right, so Dr. Marshall is with us, and we will have a full introduction, but we first of all would like to welcome you, Dr. Marshall, and so happy to have you with us. Thank you for accepting the invitation for the UAE chapter tonight. I'm so excited to see in the chat box more and more people from all over the world, you know, Ukraine again, Norway, and we have Serbia, Saudi. Any words before we start the full event, Dr. Marshall?
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Just very, very happy to be here.
Where are you based at the moment, Dr. Marshall?
Right now, that picture is of the view I can see from my window. I'm in La Jolla, California.
Oh,
So just north of San Diego. I'm getting ready to move though. I'm moving to Nashville, Tennessee.
What
So-
time it is? What time is it in your part of the world? In the UAE, it's 5 o'clock. It's 4 minutes past 5. What time is it over there?
6 a.m.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us so early, early riser.
I thank my wife.
It's fantastic to have you with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have 82 in attendance now, so maybe just so that we will all have time for the presentation as well as some questions and answers at the end, why don't we go ahead and get started?
So shall we give it a little bit more time, or do you want to go ahead and start now?
Let's see what time it is.
We are 6 past the hour now, so I think. It's good to get started, I think.
And I think people will join us as and when we're doing the introductions anyway, and I think that's okay. So we're good to go?
Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to let our audience know that we are recording the webinar today. So if you do know anyone who has missed the beginning, please, we'll be sharing the recording later on and they'll be able to watch it. It will be posted up on our website. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our audience today, members and non-members. Welcome to the ICF UAE chapter. Thank you very much for joining us for our spring event for 2021. I'd like to first thank my my fellow board members. So I'm joined today, my name is Rania Lang, I'm joined today by Lena, Barbara, Anita and Franda. And we're also delighted to welcome our very special guest, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. We have firstly, we will be there we go. So we will be presenting Marshall today as our keynote speaker. I'm going to start off with a short chapter update for you. Our theme of our webinar today is about how we can rebuild stronger with regards to economic recovery, pandemic recovery, personal rebuilding. And on that note, I would like to invite our members, our ICF members that are locally in the UAE, to take a look at our website and look at how maybe you can join the team. Joining the ICF is something that has been really quite an important step for my professional career and my learning as a coach. And from the perspective of being a member of a professional non-government organisation, the impact that it's had on my career has been unprecedented. And I would invite all our members to consider how they can participate and contribute to our projects, and how they can build and expand their experience as a coach through the work of the board of directors and the work through voluntary work through an NGO. So please take a look at the application process. The information's online. We've posted it up on our social media networks as well. And if you would like a conversation, we're all very happy and welcoming you to start those dialogues with us. And we'd love to see new executives join us. Part of the executive process has actually been a development for the help our succession. What we have found from the past is that sometimes it can be quite overwhelming and daunting to feel pressure to be a director from the get-go. So what we introduced this year was a new bylaw that encouraged and created a step-in process with the board executive roles. So you can join as a board executive, and from those executives, we then as a team have exposure to working together, working on projects, having that focus, and then that enables us to then support new directors going forward with regards to the voting process, and that helps our members understand more about the achievements of the individuals that have been on the board that go forward for the elections at the end of the year. So I would say please feel encouraged to step in and volunteer your time and support the succession of the board. We are all volunteers on the board. We have a 2-year term in a director position. So it's actually quite a short time, and we do need more executives and for future directors moving forward. I'd like to talk about the ICW for 2021 this year. This is a really important update for you, because we have heard feedback that some of our members haven't been aware of the new system for ICW that ICF Global have launched. And that is a global platform by which you can upload your event. It goes globally, and it really has facilitated the visibility, exposure and reach of our local members' activities to that global audience. It's really straightforward. You would have received a member update already from ICF Global with the links that take you to the ICW events platform. So please check your emails. If you haven't noticed it, please check your emails already. We were hoping to be able to highlight our UAE members' updates and events locally through our social media, but unfortunately we are working on a couple of glitches that enable us to filter by our country and our chapter that ICF are resolving, and as soon as we can get that resolved, we will do everything we can to be able to support our members and on a local basis. Unfortunately, until we can filter by the UAE, it's really difficult for us to see our UAE members. But please upload your events. It's a full week of celebration. We are aligning ourselves to the global dates this year. We usually start our week on a Sunday, but due to the fact that it's their platform, we're unable to alter the dates to fit our local market. So it is the 17th to the 23rd of May. Please go ahead and let's get the UAE chapter presented up there, and as much visibility as possible for our members. Moving forward with how we're working on building from the UAE as a base, and our looking forward post-pandemic with representing the local market. When ICF published their global strategy, we followed quite soon on with a new 3-year strategy for our local chapter that actually aligns us with the global strategies. You will see on the ICF website, global website, their global strategy, and on our website you'll also see our local strategy, and you'll be able to see how that aligns. If you're thinking of joining us as a board executive, you can actually see there that there's project codes, and you can look at the projects, and when you send Lena your application, you can specify exactly which projects you're interested in that you think that you would be able to add the most value. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to welcome you to the team, and we'd love to get your feedback on the work that we are doing to develop more long-term sustainability to the chapter. Now, moving on, we have our keynote speaker. Over to you, Lena.
Hello, Franda. I'm unable to start my video. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Lena. We can't see you.
Yes, unable to start the video. And actually, I am having technical issues. I apologize sincerely because I'm having a crash in the whole system right now. So
Oh, no.
I would like to thank everyone who's attending and who's joining us tonight. On behalf of the ICF UAE chapter, I thank you all for joining this spring event. Just bear with me as I will try to reboot and introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, whom we thank tremendously for being our guest of honor tonight. As already mentioned, if you just joined, please use the Q&A box, not the chat box, as the chat box has been disabled. So please use the Q&A box to put all the questions that you have. We will be taking some answers and questions in the middle. However, we will have and save some time at the end for the questions and answers.
So Lena,
I am also reviewing.
Lena, I wouldn't worry about the video. Just why don't we just do a brief introduction and get going?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So this is where we have right now. I'll also just remind the audience that we have Q&A. Sorry, we have CCE units that they can earn by emailing us. And I will just pull the introduction for Dr. Marshall, who's our guest speaker tonight. So extracting this, as many of you know Dr. Marshall already. Okay, so Dr. Marshall is a member of the Thinkers, of the Thinkers 50 Hall of Fame. He's the only two-time Thinkers 50 #1 leadership thinker in the world, and he has been ranked as the world's #1 executive coach and top business thinker for 8 years. He was chosen as the inaugural winner of the Lifetime Award for Leadership by the Harvard Institute of Coaching. Dr. Goldsmith is a New York Times #1 best-selling author and has written or edited 43 books, which have sold over 2.5 million copies and been translated into 32 languages and become listed bestsellers in 12 countries. And Amazon recently recognized the 100 best leadership and success books ever written, and included Marshall's Triggers and the most famous What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And he's the only living author with 2 books on the list. His other bestseller included Mojo, Succession, Are You Ready, and Leader of the Future, How Women Rise. Marshall's professional acknowledgements include Global Gurus, Corp D Elite Award for Lifetime, contribution in both leadership and coaching, Harvard Business Review, #1 leadership thinker, Institute for Management, and Business Week, 50 Great Leaders in America. He's featured in the New Yorker Profile, The Better Boss, and the documentary movie, The Earned Life. Dr. Goldsmith served as professor of management practice at the Dartmouth Tuck School of Business, and his PhD is from UCLA's Anderson School of Management, where he was the Distinguished Alumnus of the Year. His MBA is from Indiana University Kelley School of Business, where he was the Distinguished Entrepreneur of the Year. He's one of a select few executive coaches who has worked with over 200 major CEOs and their management teams. He served on the advisory board of the Peter Drucker Foundation for 10 years, been a volunteer teacher for USA Army General, Navy Admirals, Girl Scouts executive, and leaders of the International and American Red Cross. Dr. Goldsmith has over 1.3 million followers on LinkedIn, 3 million views on YouTube, and most of his articles, interviews, columns, and views are available at no charge online at marshallgoldsmith.com. Without further ado, I'm so happy to welcome you, Dr. Marshall, to our event. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay? Very good. Okay, let us begin. My name is Marshall. I'm from a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky. I went to school in Indiana, got my PhD, was a college professor, and then for 43 years, I've done three basic things. I've traveled all around the world speaking and teaching. So I've been to 102 countries. I think I've visited the homes of everyone on the call. So I'm a frequent traveler. I've been the coach of many of the most famous, wonderful leaders around, president of the World Bank and the Mayo Clinic and the New York Public Library and Walmart and Ford and Pfizer and all kinds of wonderful people. And then I write books and articles, and I'm giving everything away. So in my older years, I came up with an idea. I went to a program called Design the Life You Love. And the program was put on by a Turkish woman named Ayşe Bursel. In the program, she asked me, who are your heroes? My heroes were very kind and generous people who were nice teachers. She said, you should be more like your heroes. So I decided to give away everything I know to 15 people, teach them all I know for free. And the only price is when they get old, they had to do the same thing. I made a little selfie video and put it on LinkedIn, thinking maybe 100 people would apply and I would adopt 15. Well, it turned out over 18,000 people have applied to be adopted. I've adopted, I think 300 now. The program is called 100 Coaches, and it's just been wonderful. So as I've grown older, I'm practicing something called knowledge philanthropy. My goal is to give away everything I know to as many people as I can and help as many people as I can. All of my material, you may go online, go to my website, www.marshallgoldsmith.com. Feel free to copy, share, download, duplicate, modify, put your name on it. I don't care. You just do whatever you want to with my material. Anything you can do to help other people is a good thing. So I give everything away. Hopefully some of the stuff that I give you is useful. Now, today I'm going to talk about a whole new coaching process. So can we look at our slides, please? Now, today I'm going to talk about, and if we can go, there you go, a new framework for leadership coaching called the Life Plan Review Coaching Process. I'm going to give you the background that led to this and my history as a coach. And then maybe you can talk about how you can use this to coach people, teams, any way you want to. And again, send me an email if you ever want to send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. If you send me an email, I will apologize in advance. I can't promise I'm going to get back to you immediately, but I will get back to you eventually. It may take me a little bit. And then my website, www.marshallgoldsmith.com. Everything is online and for free. Please use, modify any way you want. And as I teach something, if you like parts of it but want to change it around, feel free. One woman I'm working with tomorrow is called Nankande. She lives in Zambia. She's doing my work with high potential leaders in Africa. Well, I'm not an expert on high potential leaders. She is. So she's taking my material. Sally Helgeson and I wrote a book together called How Women Rise. I'm not an expert on women in leadership. She is, but I'm supporting her. I mean, I'm not an expert on finding a cure for COVID, but I'm the coach of the CEO of Pfizer. So my goal is just to give things away to as many people as I can on the hopes that then they can help others. So please use this any way you want to. And if you like parts of it, but not others, just take out the part you don't like. Buddha said, only do what I teach if it works for you. All the stuff I teach that works for you, do it. What doesn't work for you, ignore it. I'll never know the difference. Let's get started. Next slide. Now, what are our goals? First, I want you to understand and try to be ready to try this life plan review coaching process. Then I'm going to share the building blocks of what led me to this, including my friend Alan Mulally, who was probably the best CEO in the world in the last 30 years. Feed forward, a concept I teach around the world, which I'm going to share with everyone. The daily question process, stakeholder coaching, putting it all together in something called the LPR that I've been doing every weekend. I've been doing this every weekend now for, about 10 months with about 60 of the most amazing leaders in the world. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful process. And I think it's something that you can use yourself. Next slide. Peter Drucker said, and most of the stuff that I teach is based on the assumption of teaching people to ask, how can I be a better? Peter Drucker was the greatest expert on management, and I got ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world. My intellect compared to him is that of a 10-year-old boy. He said, the leader of the past knew how to tell. The leader of the future will know how to ask. Today, leaders manage knowledge workers. The knowledge workers know more about what they're doing than their leaders do. You can't tell them what to do and how to do it. You have to ask, listen, and learn. My whole approach to coaching is leader as facilitator. not leader as expert. Okay, next slide. Now, learning from a great leader. This is an important lesson for all the coaches on this call. The most important factor for successful change is not the client, and it's not the coach. It's everyone around the client. Excuse me, is the client, it's not the coach. In my role as an executive coach for years, I had a very simple system. I didn't get paid if my clients didn't get better. Better is not judged by me or my clients, it's judged by everyone around my clients. Now, when you get paid for results, you learn humility. What did I learn? The client I spent the most amount of time with didn't improve at all, and I didn't get paid. The client I spent the least amount of time with improved more than anyone I've ever coached. 200 people got better, and I did get paid. Well, what did I learn? This is not about me. I made this chart. On one dimension was called time spent with executive coach Marshall Goldsmith. The other dimension was called improvement. There seemed to be a clear negative correlation between spending time with me and getting better. I thought, this is very humbling. I talked to my client who improved the most, my friend Alan, who I spent the least amount of time with. He was ranked number 3 greatest leader in the entire world by Fortune magazine, CEO of the Year in the United States. Stock went from $1 at Ford to $18.40 when he was the CEO. Had a 97% approval rating from every employee at a union company. Amazing man, an amazing man. And I talked to my friend Alan. Alan, what should I learn about coaching from you? He taught me 2 lessons. So lesson number 1, Marshall, your biggest challenge as a coach is one thing, customer selection. You pick the right customer, your coaching process will always work. You pick the wrong customer, your coaching process will never work. He said 2, never make coaching about yourself and your own ego and how smart you think you are. Make it about the great people you work with and how proud you are of them. Now, for years, I got ranked number 1 leadership coach in the world. Why? Nobody knows if I'm a good coach. None of these people watch me coach anyone. I may or may not be a really great coach. I've got the number 1 clients in the world. And these clients stand up and say, I'm wonderful. Why do I get ranked number 1 coach? Because of them, not because of me. The people I coach are so dedicated and hardworking, they make anybody look good. Well, my friend Alan was the CEO of Ford, said my job wasn't different as a CEO. Every day he said, I told myself, leadership's not about me, leadership's about them. Well, I'm going to help all you coaches on the call. Your biggest challenge as a coach is work with the right people. If you work with the right people, you good coaches are going to help them get better. You work with the wrong people, maybe not, maybe not. Next slide, next slide. Now, my friend Alan established something called a business plan review. I modified this for use in coaching. When he went to Ford, the stock was at $1. The company was going bankrupt and they'd lost $17 billion in a year. The first thing he does is he establishes clear rules. As a coach, I establish very clear rules for behavior and what I expect from my clients. No tolerance for bad behavior. My clients don't want to do the stuff that I talk about. I just don't work with them. I don't judge them. I just don't work with them. Then Alan every week had clear priorities, red, yellow, green. He established a system so every leader every week would stand up and say, here are my goals, here are my priorities, red, yellow, green. Green is I'm on plan, yellow is I'm not on plan, but I have a strategy, and red, I'm not on plan with no strategy. Every week they had accountability. They had to stand up in front of not only everyone on the leadership team, they had to stand up in front of 50 other people total. Each person brought 2 visitors. And they would share how they're doing every week. I modified this for use as a coach in a way I'm going to share with you in a little bit. And amazing results. He had amazing results, and I think you're going to find you can have some amazing results. Next slide. Now, the key is to help leaders get better is to realize it's okay to need help. It's okay to need help, and it's okay to need structure. One thing I'm most proud of is my book Triggers. 27 major CEOs endorsed that book. Why am I so proud of that? Before I started coaching, no CEO would admit to having a coach. They would have been ashamed to have a coach, embarrassed to have a coach. Today, these are 27 of the best leaders in the world standing up saying, hey, I'm the president of the World Bank. I need help. I'm CEO of the Year in the United States. I need help. I'm number 2 CEO of the Year. I need help. I won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I need help. Who are we kidding? We all need help, and it's okay. How many of the top 10 tennis players have a coach? 10. So the one thing I'm most proud of is changing coaching from something fixing losers to helping winners. If you want to be a great coach, be in the help winners business. Work with great clients and help great people get even better. Next slide. The value of structure. There's a great book called The Checklist Manifesto, published by Dr. Atul Gawande at Harvard Medical School. If you look at his book, he makes a very sobering remarks. If you go in for a surgery and a nurse asks the doctor a series of very simple questions from a checklist before the surgery, the odds on unneeded infection plummet. The death rate is cut by 2/3. Not a theory of fact. The huge majority of hospitals around the world do not allow the nurse to ask the doctor the questions. Why? Ego. The doctor is ashamed to ask for help. They're ashamed to admit they need structure. According to Dr. Gawande, more people have died because of the egos of surgeons in the United States than died in the Vietnam War, the Afghan War, and the Iraqi War put together. Another example of structures I'm going to share: the daily question process, our stakeholder coaching process, Alan's BPR process, simple structure, changed the Ford Motor Company, and my LPR process. Next slide. Now we're going to go next to the daily question process. I want you to apply this to yourself before you apply it to your clients. This is something I've been doing for years. This is very easy to understand and very hard to do. For 25 years, I've had someone call me on the phone almost every day. Almost every day, the person asked me questions that I wrote and listened to me provide answers that I wrote every day. Someone asked me, why do you do this every day? Don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior. Why do I do it every day? My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I am too cowardly to do this stuff by myself. I am too undisciplined to do this stuff by myself. I need help. And it's okay. It's okay. We all need help. It's okay. Once we get over this macho, I can do it on my own, willpower nonsense, life is better for everyone. Why does everyone in Hollywood have a personal trainer? They need help. World's greatest dancer. Same personal trainer for 27 years. Why? She needs help. She won't do this stuff by herself. We all need help. Well, how does the daily question process work? Every day, get out a spreadsheet. On one column, write down a series of questions that represent what's most important in your life: friends, family, colleagues, etc. Every question is answered with a yes, a no, or a number. And then every day you fill it out. At the end of the week, you get a report card. The report card at the end of the week is not as pretty as the corporate values plaque you see stuck up on the wall. I've been doing this for years. When you do this every day, you learn that life is incredibly easy to talk and life is hard to live. Hard to live. Now, I've been doing this for years. I'm going to talk about how I use this with my clients now in the LPR process. Next slide. My daughter, Kelly, is a professor at Vanderbilt University. She has a PhD from Yale. She taught me the value of something called active questions. Active questions get us to focus on what we can do to make the world better, not what the world needs to do to make us better. Next slide. Now, these are the 6 questions that my clients in the LPR group answer every day. Every day they answer these 6 questions. Question number 1, did I do my best to set clear goals? Question number 2, did I do my best to make progress toward achieving my goals? Question number 3, did I do my best to be happy? Question number 4, did I do my best to find meaning? Question 5, did I do my best to build positive relationships? And question 6, did I do my best to be fully engaged? The value of starting questions with did I do my best is there's no one to blame. Now, these 50 people I've been talking with for 10 months are amazing people. They include Pau Gasol, famous basketball star. They include Curtis Martin, National Football League Hall of Fame. They include Broadway star Telly Leon. They include world's expert on e-learning, Elliot Macy, many great thinkers, many great authors. Magda Mook, head of the ICF, has been doing this for quite a while. We're a wonderful group of people. Every week, every one of the leaders gets to review these 6 questions. And our results have been pretty amazing. Next slide. In our research on this, when we have people do this every day, what did we learn? 34% of the people that do this every day within 2 weeks said they got better at everything. 67% said they got better at least 4 items. 90% at least 1 item. 9% said no change, and less than 1% said things got worse. Why? Every day, these questions get us to focus on what? The one thing in life I can control. Did I do my best? Did I do my best? And by the way, there's nothing more important than the 6th thing I mentioned. You need to set clear goals. You got to have a purpose. You need to have achievement. You need to have meaning, happiness, build great relationships, and be present and engaged. You do that, you just won the game of life. Next slide. Now, feed forward. All of my work as a coach revolves around the concept of feed forward. This is something you can use as a coach, as a speaker, as a teacher. You can use it with teams. I love feed forward. In feed forward, for example, I just worked in St. Petersburg, Russia. 50,000 people at a football stadium. Amazing. 50,000 people. They all did this at once. I stand up in front of the group and said, we're going to practice feed forward. Here's how it works. Everybody's going to pick one behavior to improve. You're going to talk to as many people as you can. You're going to say, my name is, I want to get better at. And there's going to be 2 rules. Rule 1, no feedback about the past. Just listen and say thank you. And rule 2, you can't judge or critique ideas. When people give you ideas, learn how to say thank you. You're going to talk to people as quickly as you can, then talk to somebody else over and over. So how does it work? One person says, my name is Boris. I want to be a better listener. Please give me ideas. A couple of ideas. He says, thank you. His partner, my name is Natasha. I want to be a better at recognition. Give me ideas. Ideas, thank you. They say thank you, shake hands, talk to someone else over and over and over again. 80,000 people, 50,000 people I had doing this at once. They loved it. They loved it. And 80% didn't even speak English. You don't have to be in any kind of language to do this. Do it in the local language. It works great. This is the essence of the LPR. I use this all the time. And in my stakeholder coaching, I use this all the time. Next slide. Now, applications of feed forward. Leadership development. All of my leadership training and coaching revolves around feed forward. My coaching, team building, you can use it in the family. Get in the habit of saying, how can I be a better son, a better daughter? How can I be a better husband, wife, or partner? How can I be a better mom or dad? Listen and thank people. Learn from everyone. And then finally, I'll talk about the LPR. Next slide. Now, our stakeholder coaching is a unique system. Years ago, I met a very famous CEO, and he said, I have this kid working for us, young, smart, dedicated, hardworking jerk. It would be worth a fortune to me if he could change his behavior. I said, I like fortunes. Maybe I could help him. He said, I doubt it. I came up with an idea. So I'll work with him for a year. If he gets better, pay me. If he doesn't get better, it's free. What did the CEO say? Sold. Since then, all my coaching was done on a pay for results basis. Now, stakeholder coaching, how does it work? First, you have to qualify and work with the right people. What does that mean? The issue has to be behavioral. They have to want to get better. They have to try, and they have to be given a fair chance. If people's issue is behavioral, they're willing to try and they will be given a fair chance. My coaching process almost always works. If these conditions don't exist, don't use this process. It won't help. So the first step is determining who are the key stakeholders. I meet with my clients and determine who are their key stakeholders. It might be the board of directors, might be peers, might be direct reports. I make sure if it's the CEO I'm coaching, the board approves it. If it's a future CEO, the CEO approves it. I interview all their stakeholders. What's the person doing well? What can the person do better? Then we have a feedback process where we follow up and measure change. Next slide. Now, my process doesn't work, number one, when people don't want to change. There might be someone that can help motivate people that don't care. I'm not that person. I never try to motivate people that don't care. I just work with people that do care. Number two, this doesn't work with people that have been written off by the company. Sometimes as coaches, the companies just want to fire people, but they don't have the guts to fire them. So they hire us as coaches and pretend to want to help them. Don't do that. Don't do that. If companies want to fire people, fire them, but don't play games with them. Number three, my coaching doesn't help people with business or technical problems. I get ridiculous requests for coaching. A pharmaceutical company called, Marshall, we'd like you to coach Dr. X. What's his problem? He's not updated on recent medical technology. Neither am I. I can't make a bad scientist a good scientist, a bad doctor a good doctor. Behavioral coaching solves only behavioral problems. I don't help people have the wrong strategy. I never coach ethics problems, fire ethics problems, don't coach them. And sometimes it's just the wrong person in the wrong job, and that's okay. But my coaching is not going to help them get better. Next slide. Now, originally, I saw my stakeholder model is all about the coach. In other words, me. People get better because I was so smart. Wrong. Then I realized I need to have great clients, but two, now I realize it's important to involve the stakeholders to help them help the clients get better in three ways. One, they focus on the future, feed forward. They're positive, not cynical. They tell the truth, and everyone tries to get better. The client I coached that improved the most, 200 people got better. I was hard to coach one person. 200 got better. Why? Everyone starts trying to improve. Next slide. Now, the stakeholder-centered coaching model is based on a simple model. Ask for input. Every leader I coach asks people all around them, the key stakeholders, for input. How can I be better at work, at home, with the board, with my people? Listen in a non-judgmental way. I teach them listen in a non-judgmental way to everyone. Think about it. Think about what people are saying. Never promise to change. Listen. Thank people. Don't punish the messenger. Thank people for telling the truth, and then respond. Respond. What does respond sound like? I would say, you know, Ms. Coworker, we're going through this coaching process. The first thing I want to say is thank you so much for participating. I don't know who said what. Many people took the time to help me. I just want to say thank you so much. Next, a lot of my feedback is positive, ethical, dedicated, hardworking, caring about our company and customers. It's important to me. I hope to score high and it did. I want to say how grateful I am. Then don't say but, say, and there's something I'd like to improve. In the past, I've come off as not an open-minded listener. If I've ever not listened to you or the people around you, I'm sorry. Please accept my apologies. No excuse. I can't change the past. I can change the future. I'm not going to ask you for more feedback about the past. Feed forward. I'm going to ask you for ideas for the future. If you had to have ideas, tell me be a positive and open-minded listener, what would they be? Whatever people say, sit there, shut up, listen, take notes, and say thank you. Don't judge and critique. Now, I always tell leaders, never promise to do everything everyone suggests. Leadership is not a popularity contest. Sit there, shut up, listen, thank them. And then say, I cannot promise to do everything everyone suggests. I'm going to promise to listen, to think about these good ideas and do what I can. I'm going to involve you and ask you to help me get better. Then involve that person and then change. I've been in business 12 years before anybody asked me what I considered to be the great question. Does anyone ever really change? I said, you know, I have an undergraduate degree in mathematics and have no research to prove it. So I guess I just don't know. Good question. Well, for 42 years, I've been answering the question. Now I do know. I know who changes, who doesn't change, why people change and why people don't change. The key to make change last is you have to follow up and stick with it. What's follow-up sound like? You know, Mr. or Miss Coworker, 2 months ago, I said I wanted to be a positive and open-minded listener. Based on the last 2 months, give me ideas for the next 2 months. It's been 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. What happens when you do this follow-up that I described? Next slide. Well, this helps not only in changing behavior, but also to change people's perception. Key point as a coach. Changing perception is much more difficult than changing behavior. The reason follow-up is so important is this. If we don't follow up, it's unlikely we're going to have a change in perception, even if we have a change in behavior. What does follow-up sound like? Well, again, it's been 2 months. Give me ideas. Feed forward. 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. Why is this important? Let's imagine as a leader, my problem is I make too many destructive comments about other people. I picked that because it sounds so simple. It sounds like it'd be easy to change. Just quit doing it. Well, maybe not. You're my coworker. Situation A, I don't talk to you and I do no follow-up. I make no bad comments about anyone for 7 months. 7 months later, I say, idiots in finance, stupid bean counters. How do we get anything done in this company? It's run by a bunch of stupid accountants. You hear me. Your reaction is, he has never changed. He never changed. That one comment will justify your previous stereotype. Case study 2, you talk to me. I talk to you, I say, I want to do a great job of being a team player, not make bad comments. Give me ideas. You don't really think I'm going to change, but you give me ideas. I take notes. Then I say, well, 2 months later, though, I say, it's been 2 months. I said I want to be a great team player, not make bad comments. Give me ideas for the future. Now you start thinking, I never thought of it. You're doing a good job. 4 months. It's been 4 months. Keep it up. 6 months. You know, to be honest, I didn't think you'd change. You worked very hard. Thank you. 7 months. Idiots in finance. The other person says, you shouldn't have said that. You went 7 months without doing that. I say, you're right. I'm going to apologize. Situation A, did behavior change? Yes. Did perception change? No. Situation B, did behavior change? Yes. Did perception change? Yes. In leadership, it doesn't matter what we say. It matters what they hear. And if you don't do follow-up, even if behavior changes, it's very likely that perception will not change. Now, I'm going to ask everybody to put something in the Q&A box, Answer this question. If you have a Roman numeral watch or a clock, don't look at it. What does a Roman numeral 4 look like? Type that in, the Roman numeral 4. What does that look like? And type it into the Q&A box. Roman numeral 4, what does that look like? Okay. Yes, you know, IV. Yeah, a bunch of people say IV. Now, if you actually have a Roman numeral watch on or a clock, look at it and tell me, what does the 4 look like? In about 90% of all cases, Roman numeral watches and clocks do not have IVs. They have 4 I's. And the huge majority of people that own one and look at it every day can never see it. Why? We don't see what's there. We all see what we think is there. We don't see what's there. So it's a great perception test. The next time you're in a clock store, look at the Roman numeral clocks. Ask the salesperson, what's the 4 look like? Even though they look at, they're surrounded by clocks. They look at it every day. They can't see it. Well, it's hard to change perception. And in my job as a coach, I'm not just tired to change behavior of leaders. I'm hard to change the perception of people around them. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay. Now I got a good question that came in on the Q&A box, and it said, it talked about willpower. Now I can't find the question. Oh, here it is. It said the 6-question checklist you mentioned is awesome. However, as I've experienced, these require a person who has a lot of willpower. Most people are interested in changing themselves, but stumbled every now and again. How do I strengthen them in their minds? Here's my answer to that great question. Get help and have them follow up with somebody, and also forgive people for making mistakes. Look, I do this every week with some of the most impressive people in the world. We all screw up every week. You'd think these godlike people would somehow be better. Every week they said things like this. 1 to 10 scale, I'd say, how'd you do in setting clear goals? They'd say 3. Say, what happened? I don't know. I woke up, got busy, responded. I guess my goal must have been respond to crap all day because that's all I did. Or make progress. I forgot what I was doing. Or how did you do in terms of finding meaning? I just got lost. I did trivia all week. How about being happy? I forgot to be happy. Every week I do this with incredibly impressive people. And you know what? You're exactly right. This is hard. We all need help. I need help to do this every week. I need help to do this every week. Now I'm going to go to the Q&A box. I'm going to ask you a question. I would like you all to respond. And I talk about this in my book, Triggers. In my book, Triggers, 3 of the most important and smart people ever met are medical doctors. Dr. Jim Kim was president of the World Bank. Dr. Ross Shaw, head of the United States Agency for International Development, and Dr. John Noser, the head of the Mayo Clinic. All 3 brilliant people. I asked him a question. On the average day, answer this question. Did I do my best to be happy? What score would you get? The average person, all 3 of them had the same answer. On the average day, what score would you get? All 3 said, I don't know. It never dawned on me to try to be happy. It never dawned on me to try to be happy. They're all medical doctors. So I said, did it dawn on you you're going to die? Did it dawn on you you're going to die? Did you figure that one out? I said, you think this is a silly question? And I said, it's an important question. I just forgot to ask. Well, my favorite line in my book, Triggers, is even the greatest sharpshooter can miss a very big target. Even the greatest sharpshooter can miss a big target. They forgot to be happy. They're brilliant people. They forgot something real simple. Okay, on a 1 to 10 scale, I want you to just write in one number and put it in the Q&A box. How would you score on an average day to the answer to this question? Did I do my best to be happy today? 1 to 10 scale, average day. Just send me some numbers. I want to see what the scores look like. How did I do, and did I do my best to be happy? 1 to 10 scale. I see a 4, 6, 6, 3, 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 8, 7, 4, 6, 5, 7. You know what? The scores in this group, not a whole lot different than the average in the world. The average score in the world is about 5.5. The average score of all you all is about a 6. I'm going to give you a big challenge. Raise the score. Raise the score. We're all going to be equally dead. Life is short. Do your best every day to be happy. Most of the coaches I work with are wonderful people. You want to help others. I've asked thousands of parents around the world this question. What do I want my child to be? When my child grows up, I want my child to be, what's the number one answer? Happy. You want your kids to be happy? You want the people who love you to be happy? You go first. Every day, did I do my best to be happy? And let's get those scores up. 6. Higher, higher, higher. So I don't want to be mean to you. I want you to do one thing though. Every day you're going to focus on, did I do my best to be happy? Now, some of my clients that are just role models of this, my friend Alan Mullally used our coaching process with an entire corporation. Hubert Joly, a wonderful man who's the CEO of Best Buy, was ranked number 2 CEO in the United States. Every employee in the company practices feed forward. Kent Cressa turned around the Northrop Corporation. Frances Hesselbein, she's one of the greatest leaders I've ever seen. Peter Drucker said the greatest of all. Every employee, including her, does this. And she goes first and says, my name is Frances Hesselbein. I want to be better. Help me. Everybody learns to ask for help. Why? We're all just humans. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Now, how does our LPR process work? And I want you to begin coming up with questions for me because we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A. And one of the most important reasons for me to be here is to try to answer as best I can whatever questions you might have for me. Now, I want you to start sending in questions in the Q&A box. I have a request though. I'm not an expert on strategy. I'm not an expert on different cultures. I'm not an expert on politics. I'm not an expert on most things. I'm just good at helping successful people get better. That's it. So please have your questions only on that topic. As a coach, I only try to talk about what I know about. And here's what I love about working with you as coaches. Look, I never helped anyone from starving. I never stopped starvation, but I coached a guy who saved 20 million lives. I'm not an expert on the environment, but as a coach of the Nature Conservancy, biggest environmental organization in the world. I'm not an expert on hospitals, but I've been the coach of several CEOs of hospitals, including St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I'm not an expert on COVID, but I'm the coach of the CEO of Pfizer. Well, as coaches, we can help people. And our biggest contribution, I think, as coaches, as professionals, is not licking stamps or making political campaigns. It's helping great people who then go out and help the world. So my goal on this call is just to help you. And my idea about helping you is if I can help you even a little, and then you help those other people, they help other people, the leverage on our world is huge. So we end up making the world a better place. Now, how's the LPR process work? Everyone has daily questions that include both personal and professional goals. By the way, these people are phenomenally successful people. Most of their work is not at work, it's at home. Most of the things they want to improve are not even at work, they're at home. I forgot to be present at home. I used a cell phone in front of my kids. I got angry with my partner. Just issues at home often are more important than issues at work. So in the LPR process, they set life goals, personal and professional. They have daily questions. And they get to write their own questions. It could be things like, how much do I weigh? You know, a lot of people lost weight. Did I do my exercise program? Take care of my health? Was I nice to my mother? Every day, daily questions. Then every week they stand up and say, my name is. They cover the 6 basic questions. And then they talk about their own unique and special questions every week. And then we have what I call accountability without judgment. Everyone listens. Now, in my version of the LPR, then we share 3 different versions. There are 50 people. They rotate. They're in a different group every week of these amazing people. And then every week they talk about their lives. And then I'm a facilitator. My friend Mark Thompson and I facilitate every meeting. So we've put in about 350 hours doing this since COVID came around. We have accountability without judgment. It's a support group. One other thing is today for leaders, there's an old saying, it's lonely at the top. Today it is lonelier at the top. It is so lonely at the top. They have no one to talk to. With social media, they can be embarrassed. Their names get put in the newspaper. They feel humiliated. It's so nice to be in a group where they can act like humans. Also, like all humans, during COVID has been very hard on young people. We've got a couple whose kids thought about killing themselves. How important is that? A little more important than all the business stuff anyway. And we have a support group to help people, and everyone practices feed forward. They talk about their problems and they just say, give me ideas. And they listen and they say, thank you. And they don't judge. Nobody expects people to do everything. They just listen. And this can integrate stakeholder coaching because they can say, here are the people I want to have a great job, great relationship with these groups. Here's what I'm doing every week. Next slide. Next slide. Now, the variety of ways we've been doing this. I did this first with the people who are the Thinkers 50 top 8 coaches in the world. Magda Mook is a member of this group. She's one of the people. There's 6 of the 8 of us did this. And we practiced as coaches with ourselves. So it was Magda Mook, Michael Bungday-Senair. We have Sun Chang, Carol Kaufman from Harvard. We had a really interesting group of people. And every week, each person would go through, here's their LPR. They would say, here are my goals. Here's my progress every week. I've done this with intact work teams, where you get your team to do this every week, like my friend Alan Mullally. In the LPR 50, I have 50 great people, and they rotate doing this every week. So every week, they have groups of 6 or 8, and then they rotate. And then I use this in my individual coaching now. Every week, I have my clients do a review. I say, all right, what are your goals? How did you do? Give me a progress report over and over and over and over again. So I think this is a process you can use in all kinds of ways. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to go to the Q&A box here, and let's see what good questions you have for me, because, I think it's very important to me to help you as best way I can. So you can ask whatever questions we have. First good question is this. How about working with, quote, successful people who have big egos? They're resistant to change, difficult to work with. Or we miss an opportunity if we don't want to work with such clients. Let me just say this. It's not that my clients have small egos. Here's the point. Everyone I coach has to ask for input. They have to listen. They have to follow up. They have to get measured, and they have to get better. I don't get paid unless I get results. When you get paid for results, you cannot afford to work with people who don't care. You're not going to get paid. Well, somebody may be able to work with people who don't care effectively. And if you want to do that, that's perfectly okay. I'm not an expert on that topic. I learned a hard lesson. My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I'm not in the savior business. My name is Marshall Goldsmith, not Jesus Christ. People don't care. That's not my area of expertise. As a coach, you work with people, they don't care, they don't get better, you ruin your reputation. At the end of the day, if your clients don't get better, it's your reputation that gets ruined. Next person, I like your philosophy of walking away from coaches who don't seek to change. How to respond to organizations, keep working with managers. Do you drop these requests? Well, the question is, again, are they willing to try? Now, to me, if they've got a manager whose behavior is grossly inconsistent with the organizational values, they should get a coach, help that person if at all possible. On the other hand, don't let them stay there forever just because they make money. If you do that, you might as well not even have corporate values, because the message is we really only have one corporate value: make money. Everything else is kind of a joke. Okay, the next question. How can we help clients formulate these good questions? Well, on this one, what I would say is you sit down with them. Send me an email. I'll send you all my questions. Use an example, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. But my questions are not intended to be your questions or your client's questions. You sit down and ask them what's important. And a good model is work on who's important in their lives first. Friends, family, colleagues, who is important to them, and also what's important. For example, I always put health in there. As you get older, health becomes more and more important. So I always have questions that include things like health. Now, next question, does the LPR work in any culture? This will work in any culture. My stakeholder coaching process is used around the world, right? You mentioned you don't get paid unless your clients don't achieve success. At what point do you walk away? Very, very good question. In my stakeholder coaching process, very simple. They have to do the stuff. They have to ask for input. They have to be willing to apologize. They have to involve people. They have to follow up. If they do this, our research is, I sent the people an article called Leadership is a Contact Sport. If they do the stuff I teach, they're going to get better. They're not going to get better if they don't do it. So when do I walk away? If they don't want to do the work. If they do the work, I find they're always going to get better. If they don't do the work, I'm wasting my time. Arnold Schwarzenegger said, nobody got muscles by watching me lift the weights. Well, I cannot lift the weights for my clients. They got to lift the weights. They lift the weights, they get stronger. They don't lift the weights, we're wasting time here. So that is really up to them. Now, by the way, paying for results coaching, sometimes you can't do that. I'm not unrealistic. Sometimes you need to make money. And by the way, sometimes you just need to do what you need to do. It's not immoral, illegal, or unethical to work with people who don't care. It's just not good business, at least not for me. So that's why I do it. It's working with people who don't care is not unethical. And maybe you give them your best chance and maybe they change. That's fine. It's not a bad thing. It's just not what I do. So again, very, very good questions here. Let's see, what else have we got? Oh, lots of questions. Okay. I work hard to get results, but satisfied and happy with whatever outcomes in life. Is this approach okay? Very good question. From Kirith Vasan. Oh, very important. I work hard. But is being satisfied okay? It sounds like you might be a Hindu from your name. I suggest you go back and read the Gita. What do you learn in the Bhagavad Gita? Very simple. You never get focused on results or outcomes. The whole Gita is you accept what is, you make process, you do your best, and you make peace. I'm going to give you two questions to ask yourself, the good coach who wrote that comment. If the answer is yes and yes, you should be happy and make peace. Question one, did I do my best? And question two, did I do what I thought was right? If you did what you thought was right and you did your best, guess what? Make peace and be happy. Never get fixated on results. And again, it sounds like you might be a Hindu who asked that question. Go back and read the Bhagavad Gita. I think that is a good answer to your question right there. How do you create self-awareness? Leaders whose behavior but have no awareness. Well, what I do is everyone gets confidential feedback. They get feedback from everyone around them. And then they have a choice. I say, look, here's the person that everyone sees out there. Now, if you don't care, I don't care. If you don't want to change, it's okay. I'm not going to waste my time working with you. On the other hand, I can help you change if you want to change. Now it's up to you. Do you want to do this work? So how do I create awareness? I'm not against feedback. Every leader I coach gets confidential feedback from everyone around them. Then that creates the awareness to improve. Then it's their choice. How can we convince the clients that behavioral change take time, 9 to 12 months? Here's a very important point on change. Number one, as a coach, I'm a realist. By the way, a totally different topic, but important for all you coaches. Coaching is a wonderful profession. Coaching is an incredibly difficult business. Let me repeat that. Coaching is a wonderful profession. Coaching is an incredibly difficult business. I remember years ago, 3 young men getting their PhDs from third level school came and talked to me, and this kid says, when we graduate, we're going to do what you do. Now, you got to realize I'm living in some mansion. At the time, I've written 35 books. They're sitting in my library. There's all these books on a bookshelf. I've worked with all these famous people. This kid says, we're going to do what you do when we graduate. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm trying to be polite, but I'm thinking this seems a little rude to me, but that's okay. I'm just trying to be polite. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, we're going to coach big CEOs like you do. Well, I said, how old are you? He's 32. Good luck. Well, you got to pay your dues. I spent 42 years on the coach. It's 42 years on the road with a guaranteed base salary every year of 0. It's hard. Coaching is a hard business. Leadership development is a hard business. Look, I'm going to talk about what I did, but I'm also want to be realistic. You got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you need money. It's not immoral to coach people that don't care. And there's nothing to be ashamed about if you try and fail. We all do that sometimes. And sometimes you just need the money. You got to do what you got to do. If you can be successful enough, though, to work with people that care, you're much better off. If you can't, you can't. You just do your best. You do your best. And again, back to changing. Sometimes a client says you only got 3 months or 6 months. Do your best. If you need the work, you do your best. How do you convince clients? Well, let me explain the answer to that question. I'm often asked this question. How long does it take to get real lasting change? And the answer is the further out the measure is, the longer the change lasts. I mean, I can work with you on this call for a day and you might get better, but there's no guarantee that's going to last. Well, the further out the measure is, the longer the change is going to last. It's not a theory, it's a well-documented fact. So if you work with somebody 3 months, it's a lot less likely that change is going to be permanent or lasting than if you work with them 12 months. On the other hand, you've got to do as a coach what you've got to do. So it's a very good question. Does LPR work well in any culture? Yes, I've worked with people all around the world, people in Africa, Asia, Australia, all kinds of countries. What advice do you give to those who want to work with top CEOs? Get noticed. Oh, a very good question. How do you get noticed? All right. Many coaches are great coaches, but they have real problems with self-promotion. I find this with coaches. How many of you have ever had this ridiculous thought, my good work should speak for itself? Your good work is not going to speak for itself. God is not going to fly out of the sky and recognize you for your good work. You've got to build your reputation. And my advice is, if you want to work with great people, build your brand. Writing, thinking, do what you can do. If I can help you build your brand in any way, use my name. Ask me how I can help. I try to help as many people as I can because I know how hard this field is. You need to build your brand. Look, why do I try to help other people? I wasn't famous, but the first book I did was Peter Drucker, Richard Beckard, Francis Hesselbein, and me. I was nobody. By the 6th book, I was one of them. They helped me build my brand. All those people, I dedicate all this 100 coach program to all the people that helped me. Why am I on this call? I'm not getting paid to be on this call. I want to help you build your brand for you to be more effective. Because I think most coaches are really good people. I think what you're doing is what you think is right for the world. You're trying to help others. It's a hard business. You need to do writing. You need to do social media. You need to build your brand. And there's not a lot of pay for this or recognition, but it pays off in the long run. In the short term, you don't get a lot for this. In the long term, you do. And by the way, the more noticed you are, the more likely you are to work with great people. And the greater the people you work with, the bigger difference you're going to make in the world. So pretty simple idea. Marshall, thank you. You're such a blessing. Thank you. What do you do every day to increase your happiness level? A wonderful question. What do I do every day? A couple of things. In my book, Triggers, there's a picture of me visiting a country called Mali during the Great Famine of 1984. And in this picture, I'm kneeling down on the ground next to a woman who's kneeling down, measuring the arms of children. And there's a long line of children, and this is called triage. When she measures their arms, if their arms are too big, they do not get any food. They're not hungry enough. You go there. If their arms are too small, they're going to die anyway. You go over there. Arms in the middle, they got food. I look at that picture every day. Remind myself, be grateful and happy for what you have. Be grateful and happy for what you have. Well, most people on this call, you have a lot to be grateful for. Many of you have friends, you have family, you have health. Compared to me, you have youth. Be grateful for what you have. And every day I evaluate myself on, did I do my best to be happy today? By the way, another question I evaluate myself on every day is, did I declare victory in life? Every day on a 1 to 10 scale, you know what my score is? 10. I'm declaring victory every day. Was I perfect? No. Could I have done better? Of course. Do I make mistakes every day? Yes. So what? Declare victory. People on the call, you all are basically good people. You want to help others. Don't be too hard on yourself. And by the way, if you want others to be happy, you go first. Let them watch you be happy. One of the best things you can do to help your kids be happy is let them watch you be happy. You want your kids to be happy? Don't let them watch you be miserable. Let them watch you be happy. So that's a good question. Do you recommend 362 on every coaching assignment? I do. Again, you have to do what you have to do, but I do that in every coaching assignment. Yeah. Be grateful and happy. Thank you. What have you done to be a better coach every day? Personal growth. By the way, I'm 72. I'm teaching you a new coaching process I developed this year. I don't think you can accuse me of resting on my laurels. I am 72. I'm developing this whole new coaching technique. So I try to come up with new stuff all the time. Why? I like it. Now, what's next for me? Having such a great career, giving so much, where do you go next in building your brand? My goal is real simple. I want to practice knowledge philanthropy. Where do I go next? Where I go next is this phone call, this Zoom call. That's where I go next. My mission is pretty simple. I want to help you help others. I'm no longer ranked #1 coach in the world. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm not in the contest anymore. Someone else can win all those awards. I've done that. My goal now is not to be great, it's to help you be great. And if you put it simply, my mission in life is to help you have a great life and then help you help others have a great life. If I can help you be a little better, you help those other people be a little better, this 1 hour is a very good use of my time. This 1 hour is a very good use of my time. Hope that answers your question. Let's see here. Someone just said, thank you. Hello, and thank you for your time. One of your 100 coaches opened up for her own 10 coaches, but I didn't get in. Grateful. Keep trying. Now, there are 100 coaches in the project, right? And they're all going to start adopting their own people. Tasha Urich just adopted 10 more, the Tasha Urich 10. Raj Shah, head of the US, now he's head of the Rockefeller Foundation. He's adopting people. My advice is get to know some of the people on the list and keep trying. You have to realize there's a lot of people. We have 300 people now. I want to expand the project. I don't want the project, though, to be all about me. So now the coaches are developing their own coaches. So my advice there is just keep trying, keep trying. Somebody said, thank you so much. I love your vulnerability. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Lena, are there any other questions for me?
Yes, Dr. Marshall, that's been so interesting. Thank you so much for the talk and for all the Q&A and advice. So, yeah. So one of the question is, what are your guidelines for influencing your management when you disagree with their decisions?
Very important point. One of the most common issues I deal with as a coach, how do I influence people when I'm not the boss? Peter Drucker taught me a great lesson, which I'm going to share with everyone. By the way, if you learn nothing from me today but this lesson, it'll help you have a better life and it's going to help your clients. Here's the lesson. Number one, our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove that we're smart and not to prove we're right. We get so lost in life proving how smart we are and right we are, we forget we're not here on earth to prove how smart we are, right we are. We are here on earth to make a positive difference. Number two, that's number one. Number two, every decision is made by the person who has the power to make the decision, make peace with that. Not the best person, the smartest person, the right person. Decisions are made based on one and only one variable. Whoever has the power to make the decision is going to make the decision. If I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there's one word to describe you. It's called customer. One word to describe me is called salesperson. Sell what you can sell. Change what you can change. If you can sell it, you sell it. You can change it, you can change it. If you can't sell and change it, smile. Take a deep breath, let it go. Let it go, let it go. Change what you can change. And so many of us forget that. We forget. In my book Triggers, I have a little thing called I what. It's a little question to remember. Am I willing at this time to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic? The answer is yes, go for it. The answer is no, take a deep breath and let it go. Just let it go.
Let it go. I love that. There are other questions, but also some in the Q&A. So how important is the role of a mentor for a coach? How would you get one? How can we go deeper into
one question at a time. You're going too fast here. Now, before we go on, this business of making peace with whoever has the power to make the decision, that's easy in theory, but it's hard in practice. Now, Lena, have you ever said this to yourself before? I'm amazed that someone at that level, talking about powerful people, I'm amazed that someone at that level is stupid, crazy, such an idiot. How did a person get to that level who's such a moron? Have you ever had these thoughts? Yes or no?
I will have to admit, yes.
Many times. Now, Lena, I'm going to point out these thoughts make no sense. Before this Zoom call, have you ever read a history book? Yes or no?
History book, yeah.
Of course, you've read history book. In the history of the world, have most people those high levels of power, money, and all that? Mostly women or men over the years? Who've most of them been?
Who's what? Sorry.
Mostly women or men in these powerful roles? Most of them.
Men, I would say.
Mostly men, yes. Younger or a little bit older, perhaps.
Perhaps older.
Yeah. Lena, is there anything in the history of this world that would lead you to believe when you take old men, you give them huge amounts of money and power and status, they begin to act incredibly sane and rational? Did you read such a book? No. They just get crazier. So what is change what you can change. Make peace with what you can change. If you can't change it, let it go. Let it go. Life is short. Life is short. Life is short. Okay. Lena, what's another good question for me?
How can we go deeper on the LPR?
How can we do what?
Go deeper.
Well, what I would say, limited time we have is, again, the idea of the LPR is not so much depth. In a typical 1 hour call, I would have 6 to 10 people with my friend Mark Thompson. What they get out of the LPR is many things. And it's not coach centric. Most of what they learn, they do not learn from me. I'm a facilitator. So you got to realize Mark and I are facilitators of this process. The percentage of learning that comes from us might be 5%, if that. Mostly they don't learn from us, they learn from each other. So what happens is, number one, the LPR is about accountability. Getting them to stand up every week and be accountable. Big deal. Number two is without judgment. Very hard for them not to be judged all the time. Number three, it's about their whole life, not just about business. Okay. And then they do feed forward. So when they do Feed Forward, then they get to ask whatever they want and learn from all these brilliant people week after week after week. And then we have them call each other in between time and help each other. So for example, Nankandi is in Zambia. She's a woman. Her father died. He was running a huge company. Now she is in a powerful role, but people talk down on her because she's a woman and she's young. Gail Miller is 74 years old. Years ago, her husband died. She owned the basketball team, the Utah Jazz. She owns huge amounts of businesses, and she has to run the business, and people talk down to her. You know, they talk down to her. She's a woman. She didn't have all this experience. They talk down to her. Gail did a fantastic job of changing that. Company value increased 4 times while she was the CEO. I had Gail talk to Nankandi, this 74-year-old woman talking to this probably 32-year-old woman, and help her. Was really good for Nankandi and good for Gail. Nankandi said, I'm so grateful Gail spent so much time helping me, but what can I give her? I said, you've just given her the best gift in the world, the gift of meaning. You just added meaning to her life. She feels so good about being able to help you. So in terms of that process, it's hard not to think about it being so coach-centric. It's really not so much coach-centric. I'm a facilitator, and I'm facilitating learning. I'm not the source of learning. And the degree of depth the client's experience, it's up to them. Very good question. Okay, next question.
What are your suggestions on how to dismiss someone?
Very good question. I get this one a lot. When you have to make a tough decision as a leader, or you have to dismiss someone, here's my advice. Number one, don't get into an argument and don't prove they're wrong. Back to my good Peter Drucker's suggestion, the decisions are made by the decision maker. So just say, in this case, if I'm the CEO, I'd say, Ms. Chief Financial or Mr. Chief Financial Officer, I've analyzed the situation. I've decided to dismiss you from this job for the following reasons. The person says, I think you're wrong. Well, I say, I understand we disagree and you have your reasons for disagreeing, and I respect you. We disagree and I've still made this decision. Then the person says, well, again, you're making a mistake. Rather than prove they're wrong, say, you know what, you might be right. I may be making a mistake. And by the way, I've made many mistakes in the past, and I'm sure I will continue to do so. In this case, this is a decision that I'm required to make. I respect you and I've thought about this decision. Here's the decision I've made. And let's talk about how to make this work in the best way we can for both of us. It's amazing how much better that works. And let me prove to you that I'm right and you're wrong. Now, finally, let me finish with my best advice because I want to finish right on schedule. That's this. I want all the coaches on the call to stop and breathe. And I'm so happy we have 97 coaches on the call. That's great. Almost everybody's here from the beginning. So stop and breathe. Smile. Deep breath. Deep breath. Now, smiling, deep breath. Very good. Now, I want you to imagine you're 95 years old and you're just getting ready to die. You're on that deathbed. Here comes that last breath. But before you take that breath, you're given a beautiful gift, the ability to go back in time and talk to all the people listening to me right now. What advice would that wise old person who knows what mattered in life and what didn't and what was important and what wasn't have for the you that's listening to me right now? Whatever you're thinking now, do that. In terms of performance appraisal, that's all that matters. That old person says, you did the right thing, you did the right thing. That old person says, you made a mistake, you made a mistake. You do not have to impress anyone but that old person. Some friends of mine interviewed old folks who were dying, yet they asked this question, what advice would you have? On the personal side, 3 themes. Theme number 1, 3 words. Be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. A Great Western disease. I'll be happy when I get that money, status, BMW, condominium. I will be happy when. We all have the same when. That old person is when. That old person is when. And my people on the call, Frenda and Lena, you guys have something I don't have. You can look at me and say, lucky old man, look at him. He writes books, makes tons of money, and works with famous people. You both have something I don't have. You know what that's called? Youth. Youth. But by the way, you want a best-selling book? You give me that 40 years, you can have the book.
And talking about the best-selling,
now wait a minute. Number two, which is great about being a coach, is just help people. Do whatever you can do to help people. The main reason to help people, nothing to do with money or status. It's the old you'll be proud. And number three, if you have a dream, go for it. Because if you don't go for it when you're 35, you may not when you're 85. It doesn't have to be a big one, maybe a little one. You know, and you know, we almost never regret the risks that we take and fail. We always regret the risk we fail to take. And finally, in closing, my mission is I hope today help you have just a little better life, and maybe you can then help the people around you have just a little bit better life. And if I can do that, it's been a good hour for me. Thank you. Thank you.
It's been an amazing hour. And for us, may I have one last question?
Sure.
Yeah. So what does mojo? I'm just curious. What does mojo, the name of your last book, mean?
Mojo is that positive spirit toward what you're doing now. It starts on the inside and goes to the outside. And as we journey through life, two things influence this: happiness and meaning. That means I love what I'm doing and it's important to me. And nobody can define happiness for you but one person, you. No one can define meaning for you but one person, you. That's something that has to come from your heart. And the larger part of your life you can spend achieving happiness and meaning at the same time, you win. You win. In the game of life, you win. We have all kinds of research. The percent of your life, if you can spend, I'm doing something that makes me happy and the results are meaningful to me, you just won the game of life. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Marshall. And just a reminder for all the attendees that you can claim your ICF CCEU units for this call. It's 1.5 CCEU in R&D by emailing us at executivead@coachfederation.ae. And also, I'd like to thank so much Dr. Marshall for his presence with us today. Thank you so much. We're very grateful. You will receive recordings and also material from Dr. Marshall, articles, the 6 daily questions, contact sports, and so many others in a follow-up email. And watch our posts on social media to get the link to the recording for today. Thanks a lot. And Rania, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you so much, Lena. Thank you so much, Dr. Marshall. Absolutely fascinating hearing you talk today. And I think one of the biggest things, I think I'd like to write it on my mirror, actually, on my bathroom. I did my best and I did what I think is right. You know, just before bed, I think that would really help me sleep, you know, when the carousel starts going off in the middle of the night. So that was really valuable. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Lena, for covering the Q&A. Franda has been webinar master today. She's been absolutely fantastic. Anita, she's been brilliant with organising the event with the help of Barbara. Yeah, thanks. Without this board, we wouldn't have been able to have such a fantastic speaker and such a fantastic spring event. And thank you very much to our members and non-members in the audience. Once again, with your support, you know, we're so grateful and appreciative of your support always. Whether times are troubling or not, we are not a chapter without you. So even though we may not be seeing each other face to face like we would normally do, we're looking forward to going out in the community more as things pick up. And it's been absolutely fantastic webinar today, just, you know, getting ourselves ready for the changes that are going to be coming to us. And we know that those will be coming. And I really, 100% believe that the world needs coaching now more than ever. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. And we look forward to seeing you again at an ICF chapter event soon.
Yeah, one last bit. For those still asking about the email for the CCEU, it will come to you in a follow-up email. So you'll have all the information. You can respond to that in the follow-up email. Don't worry about the details. And have a great evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.